We are staring at episode 80th here live on the Real Kyper at Noon Show. Nick Kypreos here, Joe and Jordan on the sidelines. As we talked on Wednesday, no Doug MacLean for Jordan, reasons unknown. Maybe I should have paid more attention, but the only thing I can come up with is he needed a nap today. It's Friday. Busy 9 games last night in the National Hockey League. We got 4 tonight. We'll help tee up the weekend, including a dozen games on Saturday and one in Lake Tahoe. So with no Doug MacLean, boys, we needed to go deep into the bullpen. And friend of the show, as always, out of NBC Sports Washington, is our good friend Alan May. Alan, welcome aboard again, pal.
Good to be here, and I think I know where our old coach is. He's got the blue plate special at the senior center at the golf club. So
yeah, he loves his golf. He reminds us every day while we're buried in 3 feet of snow up here when he comes off the 18th hole, and he's very disappointed at his 92 or 93 as a score. So, but thanks for joining us. I know you've been busy and hectic as well, following the Capitals as well as the rest of the National Hockey League. It's been quite the start to the National Hockey League. We're going to get into a lot of it with you. Our thumbnail today is talking about what might be perceived as the best goal scorer in the league right now, and you're used to talking about a guy in Washington under that label, but today it seems like it's Auston Matthews.
Well, certainly, and look at the division he's playing in right now. I think every goal scorer in the National Hockey League would want to be playing in the North Division right now, because I'm not sure what brand of defense they're playing, or if they're playing any, but it's very different hockey when you go. It's really 4 different leagues right now, the way the game is being played. And, the East Division, the North, everyone's got something different that they're thriving on. You look at the Eastern Division is more about right now, everyone's trying to lock down on defense. Up north, they're playing back and forth. Goaltenders are just getting killed up there. So you don't know whether they're good or bad because there's so many high danger scoring chances.
Okay.
But Auston Matthews is absolutely amazing.
Don't get ahead here yet. We'll get into all the defense or the lack of it. But I just want to now start scratching the surface on Auston Matthews, the goal scorer. And 2 goals last night against the Ottawa Senators. He ends up with his 15th and 16th. He's got 25 points in 17 games. And the talk going into this condensed season was, unfortunately, we wouldn't have a 50-goal scorer. How can you with under 60 games to go? Yet here we are in the 3rd week of February, and he's 17 games in, and it is a legitimate topic of conversation whether or not Auston Matthews can hit that magic mark of 50 goals in 50 games. Today, outside of or the lack of, is it possible that he could hit that magic mark?
I would bet large that he does. I think he's going to do it, absolutely. The only thing that'll stop him is being injured right now. The fact that he's allowed more creativity right now. I believe that he has one of the sneakiest, weirdest, best shots ever. I don't know how to describe the way he takes that wrist shot, but you don't know where the puck is going. It's off his stick so fast. He uses the technology of the blade. He can shoot from either leg at any angle. He's got a nose for the net. And I think it's about time he went and got himself 50 goals. Even though in the 56-game season, I was lucky enough to grow up. I watched Wayne Gretzky. I was there in the Northlands Coliseum the night he got his 50th and 39, and he just decimated goalies that year. And then, there are other years you've seen it, but in certain players. And Cam Neely, you and I were, I think, playing in the game when he got his 50 and 50 in the Boston Garden. And sometimes guys just get on a roll and they can't be stopped. And really the only thing that can stop Auston Matthews right now, in my opinion, is an injury. And this kid's, he's dialed in to score goals. And I think it's about time that they made everything about him on the offensive zone. Get him the puck. Pull the old Michael Pavanka to Peter Bondra thing back when we were in Washington, you and I are playing. He didn't pass to anyone but Peter. You'd be wide open. He'd curl away and he'd wait till Peter was ready. And you almost have to do that with Auston Matthews. He's hot, ride him. just go with it. And I wouldn't be surprised, to tell you the truth, if he got 60 goals this season, because every time you see the puck on his stick, and what are they going to do? Are they going to trade for defensemen up there on all those teams? Are they going to all go into a super trap? I don't think so. I think that right now, when you see how Vancouver's playing defensively, Calgary, Edmonton, Ottawa, what are they doing? So I look at him, and he should be able to absolutely dominate all season long. And when you have a condensed schedule like they haven't had to miss any games in Canada. He's on a roll. And when guys get on a roll and a rhythm, there's no big spaces. There's no all-star break. There's no bye week. So I think everything's in his favor to just absolutely dominate this year.
I'll give you another reason why Auston may potentially miss getting 50 and 50. And you mentioned it could be an injury to Matthews. How about an injury to Mitch Marner? When I watch this guy and the magic that he creates on the ice and the deception that he constantly gives teams, it's opened so much. Case in point, the easy wraparound goal last night off a backhanded behind the net play by Marner.
Well, you know, I honestly don't think that the Mitch Marner thing would affect him. Marner's
really,
he's incredible, because you think of this: you have two guys that are just a little bit younger than you and I, and Spezza and Joe Thornton, and those two guys are on the team as well. So if you do get into a predicament, those guys have accepted their roles. They're dialed into play every night. If they stay healthy as well, there's two experienced guys to play with them on the power play. And I think the Leafs power play will get better and better as the season goes on. And I just think that when a goal scorer is dialed in, it doesn't matter. He could go out with you and I, and he's going to get his goals because he's that hot right now. And I think he finally I don't know what he's like personality-wise, but he seems like he's a quiet guy. And it just takes a little while to get his confidence. And I thought by now he would have had a 50-goal season. And to me,
he had one. He had a tap-in putt for it last season.
Yeah. He, Pasternak, and Ovechkin were ripped off by the pandemic, and it would have been great to see what those guys could have done. And you know, I do feel for all the guys in sports that have lost time due to lockouts, multiple lockouts and pandemics, where their career stats would be. But you know, everyone's in the same boat right now, and I just think right now I'm really bullish on the way Matthews is playing. The Canadian division isn't playing good defense, and he should just be able to tear it up all season. No one's playing physical. No one's out there, just getting and creating, just clusters and all types of scrums every night. The games are kind of easy. They're over pretty quick. And there's been no bloodbaths. There's been no, blind brawls where guys are getting pissed off. I think right now he's in a rhythm. He's in a rhythm.
It's a comfort zone for him too, Alan. It is. It looks like it's a walk in the park for Auston Matthews. He's not looking over his shoulder. He's not a guy that's nervous. He doesn't feel like his time and space is closing off anytime soon. I mean, there's a million reasons why he should score 50 and 50.
Well, it's a different time right now, and the way that they're playing more creatively. And one of the things that I like Mike Babcock hockey. I like, crashing the net, shooting from angles, always having bodies there. But it's also everyone was kind of forced to play a certain style. And I think sometimes the players, they've got to be allowed to have more creativity. And the thing about Matthews is he doesn't play perimeter hockey. He will go to the middle of the ice and score his goals. He doesn't curl away inside the blue line every time. He can shoot. You just put the puck anywhere near him, and he can contort his body to get off a quick shot. And he's deadly accurate. And I think right now is the time. So I hope that he stays healthy, because I want to see what he can do and put pressure on everyone in the National Hockey League. So as far as the regular season's concerned, he's got everything at his disposal right now to get 50 plus.
You've watched one of our very best modern day goal scorer in Ovechkin. Where are they similar? Where are they different? Because
I don't think they're nowhere similar. Nothing.
So Ovi overpowers you. Is that simple enough?
It's blunt force trauma when he shoots the puck most of the time. His power play setup, everyone in the league knows what's happening. Some goalies cheat some nights, and he still puts it under the bar. But Ovi used to use his legs to score a lot of his goals. Now he's using smarts a lot like an older Brett Hull, getting into positions. If he's with Backstrom, he gets the puck as soon as he's open every time. He's scoring more rebound goals the last few years than he has deflections and just things like that. And he's being more creative on the power play. If they take him away, he'll go stand at the net, a la Brett Hull. And Wayne Gretzky used to do the same thing if he was being shadowed. So they're completely different players. And Ovi's wrist shot is a long windup, a lot like Brett Hull had a long windup on it. He's got a weird hockey stick. It's got that curve at the end of it. And I don't know how he shoots with it, but he overpowers everyone with his shot. And you can never count the guy out. He can't really take a backhand like most players, not like Crosby, not like Matthews. Certainly not that Suk type of backhand. So everything for him is off of the forehand.
Yeah.
And Matthews has got a variety of shots, but his most lethal one is that sneaky wrist shot that he takes.
And it's the quickness of the hands and the inability of the goalies to pick up on when the puck actually gets released. If we marvel at Connor McDavid's third and fourth gear when he skates,
that's all he has.
Matthews has a third and fourth gear with his hands.
He does. Well, his shot, the new style of shooting, what they're teaching youth all over North America, is the puck out in front and getting it off your stick in a 4 to 5 inch, 6 inch sweep. And he's one of those guys that's using the technology of the sticks. I don't know how much of this goes back to his childhood and starting his playing career on synthetic ice and having to shoot the puck differently on those. But it's got a trajectory on it. In tight, he can go up better than anyone in the league with velocity on the puck. And once again, there's no cheat for a goaltender on his shot. They don't know if he's going blocker, glove, 5, over either shoulder. And it just comes off of the stick lightning quick. So he's absolutely spectacular. He's been phenomenal since he's gotten in the league. And I used to look and I go, man, if they ever unleash him in Toronto, it's going to be scary for everyone because some of the things that he can do with the puck, let alone from the shot, the stick handling abilities, the tight traffic, the spin moves that he's got. It's just a matter of letting him be himself. And, I look at some coaches, would you want Wayne Gretzky not to be Wayne Gretzky in his game? You've got to let the great players be who they are. And if there is a defensive deficiency, so be it, because they're still going to get you 3 goals, even if they weren't on the coach's analytical chart as to what they track. He could be a -3 and, getting the puck out of the zone or, simple little things like that or on a back check. But you know what? Let this guy play the game and let him tear it up.
Nick Kypreos here on the Real Kyper at Noon show. Joining me, NBC Sports Washington, Alan May. Doug McLean on assignment, reasons unknown. And by the way, hit the like button for Alan, okay? I would love nothing more to come next week with Doug McLean and find out that Alan had way more likes.
Alan, I'll have you know that Doug was talking a little garbage. He was talking a little smack, He was saying that no way we'll get the same amount of likes without him involved. That's what he said.
Come on, everybody.
Well, you know what? He's got an entire island voting for him. I don't know how big that island is, but I think he's got them all in his pocket.
No, we got enough out there for you, Alan. We're going to pass Doug McLean and we're going to jam it down his throat on Monday. Okay, Alan, you touched on it a little earlier in our show. When we look at the top 5 goal scorers in the league, Matthews, Brock Besser, Leon Draisaitl, Ehlers in Winnipeg, and Tyler Toffoli in Montreal, all out of the North Division. Their concept of defense in the North Division is a joke. What is going on there?
Maybe it's because they're all youthful up there. I'm not sure what it is, but it's, a lot of the young players in the league, and I think I'm going to throw a little wrench in this, is that, say, Rick Tocchet in Arizona. He's got all these young guys that were, high-scoring players in junior, collegiately, wherever they were, and he's had to teach them the value of playing without the puck because they're not the biggest team. He's got guys bumping and grinding now, playing great D, and he had to break them down. They've been patient in the fact that had to show Clayton Keller how to play different ways and the different players there. So up in Canada, you take all these young players, and what was the controversy Mike Babcock had with Mitch Marner had something to do with how he was playing his all-round game, and paying attention to what you do without the puck. And I watch the games up there, and I've got no skin invested in any of the Canadian teams. I grew up in Edmonton. I was there for the Gretzky years, watching them win Stanley Cups, played a couple of games for them. So, I feel like you'll never get rid of your hometown team. Like, you're a Toronto guy. The Leafs were your end all and be all, according to your book. But so you look at what they're doing up there. They're playing 80s hockey. It's like they're watching old 80s VHS videos, and they're not paying attention to doing the right thing enough. There's just not enough attention to what you do without the puck right now.
So 80s hockey can get you out of the North Division, but when you go into a conference final and you may have to face a Boston, a Tampa Bay, a Washington, a Philadelphia, is that going to get you through?
There's one of two ways. It's going to be 4-0, or it's going to be a 7-game series, but it's going to be a lot different hockey when you do change. And during the regular season, when you're playing your entire conference, and you got a couple of games with the other conference mixed in here and there, you've got to learn how to play a different brand every night. And right now, it's like they're in a small junior league, and I really think it's 4 different NHLs right now. There's 4 different leagues, but it'll be interesting to see what happens in the third round as to what happens with, right now, the East Division. Everyone's starting to really tighten it up, and the scoring's coming down. Some of the older teams, like say the Washington Capitals, took a while to get their gears going, and then they had a bunch of players missing, but everyone's had players missing. But you look at, what the coaches are valuing. It's an all-round game right now.
Well,
and by the time they get to the playoffs,
yeah.
by the time they get to the playoffs, when you're watching all the games, they're tightening up. Look at the New York Islanders. Could you imagine the Toronto Maple Leafs having to go in the third round against the New York Islanders?
Barry Trotz would have a heart attack coaching the Toronto Maple Leafs. A heart attack.
Well, he might be having some fun too, but he would break guys down and to get in there. But you still don't want to stifle players. And you've got to let the young play, but they still have to know when to get rid of the pucks, when to put pucks deep, and things like that.
I want to get your theory on late in the Toronto-Ottawa game. I'm not sure if you got to watch it in great detail, but the score is 6-3. It's late. And all of a sudden, the focus of the Toronto Maple Leafs became about John Tavares, getting a goal and kind of getting that monkey off his back and maybe gaining his confidence and, putting him in different scenarios and changing up the line. And he got his goal. He got the 7-3 goal. And I'm watching this kind of play out, Alan, and I'm not sure if I was the head coach that I would have made that a top priority in the last 5 minutes of a 6-3 game to get him a meaningless goal. Yet, maybe he thinks that the media has been on John Tavares, and we know that's been the case between him and Nylander. But was Sheldon Keefe making it all about John Tavares late in the game a good thing?
When you're a really good team and you're in first place, and right now they're just in that division. They're the best team in the North. You're trying to keep everyone happy at the same time. But you and I played with guys that when one guy's rolling and scoring goals at will, usually someone else is suffering. So not everyone can score 1 million goals every night. So there's 2 ways to look at it. There's, Tavares means the world to that team. He's dialed in every game. I think he plays a great brand of hockey and very responsible. And to get him scoring is something to have utilize another weapon. So your top 6, you've got to have them going at all times, because really your top 2 centers determine how successful you are. And if you've got a great guy in the third spot, you're going to be that much better of a team. The Washington Capitals were naked for years at the third line. The Pittsburgh Penguins, and when they finally addressed that, the third centerman, they were a lot better team. So I just look at everything involved. It's a team play, and it's more than just getting John Tavares a goal. It's showing support for all of the players on your team. You've got to have them all going.
That's where I beg to differ a little bit for you, because if I'm one of those players that needs a goal, I'd hope that you would help me out as much as you help John Tavares out. Or is it just the fact that he makes $11 million and you don't want to be embarrassed on a guy that you're paying that much money being in a slump? So I get it, but if I'm other players on the team and I could use a goal, you got to show me that love too.
I don't agree. And the reason I don't is the role of every line and every player is different. And You don't want your fourth line center playing like Mitch Marner. You don't want your fourth line winger playing like Auston Matthews. Everyone's got, a value to the team is how they need to play. It'd be like you going out and, on one of your teams and, who's your top left winger. And then, you're not going to get the same treatment. Everyone gets treated different on the team. There's a hierarchy of what matters. Your third and fourth lines are almost disposable. Your fourth line should be interchangeable at any time, could be easily. You have more success with a full roster, but everyone's got to understand their value. And I've always said, if your fourth line is your best line, like for the Washington Capitals, our fourth line was their best line for about 2 weeks. It's not a good thing. They lost 4 in a row, and guys tap out. So you got to have your top guys going. It breeds confidence. The other players feed off of the top players, and no different than when you and I were playing. You looked up the lineup. You needed those top guys going to really have success, and then the other guys chip in. And nothing's going to be gifted to you. You might get the odd power play late in the game where the fourth line guys get to do it, charity ice time, maybe some penalty kills for guys that don't normally get the penalty kill. But really, you've got to make sure that your top six, your top guys are going and they're happy. You want to keep them away from media criticism because, especially in Toronto, the noise is louder than anywhere in North America when it comes to hockey media.
Well, no question. And still trying to figure out if the Toronto Maple Leafs with all this offense are still legit. I mean, I didn't think it was great playing the worst team in the league and giving up almost 40 shots on goal, a third of them in the third period. I think they had countless crossbars. I'm just not sure whether or not the Leafs can compete right now outside of this division. You've seen that East Division for a long time now. Boston off to a little bit of a slow start, but they've picked up. Philadelphia, you assume that the younger players are continuing to get better and grow. And then there's the team that you follow on a daily basis, the Washington Capitals. Nobody has more pressure to get to a Stanley Cup final. I think that's what the coaching change was all about. Let's talk a little bit about the Caps and the changes in the first 15 games, what you've been able to see. Chara, all of it, Alan. Let us know where these guys are.
Well, when you look at changes that they had from Laviolette's system going forward from Reardon's, everything's drastically different. I don't think they really understood the man-on-man zone defense, not a zone, but inside the defensive zone. And it wasn't until the last 2 games that they valued, defensive zone as a priority and really got their complete game together. And I think the 4-game kick in the ass, the losing streak, kind of woke everyone up that everyone had to do things differently. They had to be better without the puck, protect their goaltenders, regardless if it's Vanacek, Samsonov, Craig Anderson, I wish it would have been Henrik Lundqvist, but it's not. And so now that they're cleaning up front of the net, there's been no rebounds the last 2 games. There are rebounds, but the defenders the defensemen are clearing them out. So I look at Zdeno Chara. You want to skip over to him. He's been phenomenal. He's been great for them. When you lose a game, you can point fingers at, well, he looks old, he looks slow, but everyone in those losses look bad. But he and Justin Schultz have been an incredible pair. And now that Justin Schultz is back, he was off almost 2 weeks with a slap shot to the face. His teeth are mangled. He had a bunch of surgeries. He's been really good. And Justin Schultz was the best defenseman here for a while. So now that everything's settled and they have the roster back, they're going to be a defensive juggernaut. And then they still have all that firepower up front. And it's all led by Nick Backstrom right now, who's playing some of the best hockey of his career and leading this team. And he's been the best player game in and game out all season long. Kuznetsov still has to get going. Lars Eller has the third line going the last couple of games with Connor Sherry and Richard Panik. They've been doing a great job. The Dowd line, the fourth line, has been doing a good job as a shutdown line. But for a little too long, that was the best line. So now that they have their roster back and they played last night, the 8th place team in Buffalo. The next game will be against the Rangers, who are 7th, and the Devils, who are 6th, the Penguins, who are 5. That's their next 6 games. So if they can continue to build on the last 2 60-minute performances, they should be atop of this division within a week and a half or so. So things are starting to look up for them, and I expect them to get better and better by the week now.
Okay, you touched on the goaltending and no Lundqvist, and that was the anchor and the experience and the guy that you thought could settle things down when need be. That hasn't been the case. So where are they?
Well, I
With the
think with their
goaltending,
young
do you just stay with the kids?
well,
I
they will for now. And so one of the biggest question mark, Vitek Vanacek has been a great surprise. And I saw a guy in the Buffalo
Alan,
media.
you can't leave it to that guy
No, you
going
can't.
into
You
the
cannot.
playoffs.
But one of the things that no matter who would have been in net during their 4-game losing streak, no matter Henrik Lundqvist, Patrick Waugh, Grant Fuhr, Curtis Joseph, Martin Brodeur, all the great goalies, Mike Richter. If those guys would have been in net, they would have been letting goals in during that because they weren't taking care. There was too many high danger chances. There was too much in tight. Goalie having to go side to side on the back door plays too many times. And so the defensive lockdown the last couple of games, Vanacek has easily stopped all the pucks that he's supposed to. Which any goalie, when Braden Holtby was playing at his best here during the Stanley Cup run, they finally got it down in the defensive zone where he wasn't having to make crazy, bizarre, spectacular saves every single period, and it seemed like every couple of minutes. So, they get that. But looking at that, Samsonov is a huge question mark. He's been at Hershey. He's had one good game, one bad game. He didn't play good before he went out in COVID protocol. Then he missed forever. So he's still not in game shape. So the questions will be before the trade deadline. And I think the goalie price is going to be very high for teams that really believe that they should take a chance at winning the cup, that they're going to have to go out there because usually by, April 12th, there'll be teams that know they're definitely not going to be in it. And are those the teams that you have to look at realistically, let's make a deal. And maybe that's where the Caps will be at the time. And I did see a great Instagram video today of Henrik Lundqvist practicing goalie saves with his dumbbells and running on the treadmill. So maybe he'll be back in time for the playoffs. Who knows?
I got a name for you at the deadline. Jonathan Quick.
I don't know. That's a tough one. I think a lot of teams would be interested in him right now, and certainly having the winning pedigree if he's healthy. And Brian McClellan has made some trades with Rob Blake. I think they know each other. We all had the same agent. So sometimes that plays into those things. Who can make a deal, who can help a friend out.
Yeah.
And I think Jonathan Quick, there's no way I would ever discount anything he does. He's in it. As long as he's healthy, he gives your team a great chance to win every night.
I don't think it would be nearly as expensive. He's got another year on his deal, I think at over $7 million. So that's a bit of a hiccup. But if LA would be willing to eat a little bit of that, they could end up with a prospect.
Well, the other thing too, though,
pick.
Ron Hextall would be a guy. They're having goalie problems in Pittsburgh, and Ron Hextall has a great relationship with the LA Kings. And there would be another guy. That would be a guy for him. You'd probably have to get the Kings to eat some money for what you would give them. And it's not sure. They don't have a whole lot of draft picks to give away in Pittsburgh. So, the 61 trades by Rutherford. I don't know how many draft picks this year or next year that are already gone. Yeah. So, that would be a tough one. Where do they want to go with this season?
Well, let's swing it over to Pittsburgh. We still haven't gotten your thoughts of Brian Burke resurfacing as a president of hockey operations. We sat with Brian at Sportsnet. He was done until he said he wasn't done.
I probably could have sniffed that out as BS a long time ago. And I'm happy. Hey, he was
not
really
Berkey. Berkey always tells the truth.
He was really good on television, except I didn't like looking at him all the time. But I'm happy he's back. I just wish it wasn't with the Penguins because this could affect my future income. I really believe that the tandem that they hired there was really good. And, it's going to have to be a partnership. They didn't want just Hextall all by himself. He's got to make sure that, Hexy, one of the complaints about him is Philadelphia. He wasn't letting enough people in on. There wasn't a collaborative effort. And not that, you're the ultimate leader in pulling off the trades, but maybe there's a guy that's a sounding board. If you've got tunnel vision, you're going in one direction, a guy like Brian Burke is going to be a forceful man to talk to. He's not overpowering. I thought he did a great job in Calgary at not getting in Brad Treeloving's way and all the different things that, transpired there. But I think they're going to be a dangerous duo. And they definitely, I have no problem with how they've drafted in the past, pre-Rutherford and all those college free agent signings. I still believe that the NCAA is probably the way to go with your later draft picks and diamonds in the rough, because the Penguins have a lot of, successful diamonds, like polished diamonds from, the NCAA. And I think the teams that won the cup had like 16, 17, 18 guys on the roster that played collegiate hockey. And you and I were junior hockey players. So, it's, just having a different look and a different opinion but you've got to draft well. Look what Hextall's draft picks in Philadelphia right now. And I think having Brian Burke there to be a guy that will talk to you if you're getting off tracks as a player, if you're not pulling the weight in the direction that you should be.
Well, the knock on Ron Hextall was it was too slow and he waited too long for Carter Hart to come up. And, the sense that, a few years ago, they might have had 12, 13,000 people in that stadium for a hockey game. And that's never happened before. So there is a sense that Ron doesn't have that time in Pittsburgh, and they have to treat this as if to win now. And Sid Crosby and Malkin going into his last year of his deal. What do they have realistically to move or to send a message that they're trying to win right now? Because you're not moving Malkin, you're not moving Crosby, you're not moving Letang. I guess not Letang, but maybe you are. Other than that, not much.
I think with their team, the number one problem is their defensive core, the guys that they have in defense. And that really, to me, is the area they have to make improvements in right now. And there's not enough there. They're easy to play against on the back end. Letang is still a phenomenal player, in my opinion.
But he's, according to a lot of people there, and probably if Sullivan took some truth serum and talked publicly, he'd say he's one of his worst defenders.
Well, I honestly don't I think their team's too small when you look at them. And, the forwards don't do enough defensively. But I look at Letang, and when you have a really good player like that, you have them on the ice too much when the team is struggling, and they end up with minuses. And, you've seen this with a lot of different teams, the best players. Like, you look in Buffalo, they got so many guys in double-digit minuses right now. It's all their better players. And, it just sometimes you're putting those players on the ice way too much. They're not getting enough support. But Letang, to me, is still a premier defenseman. It's the rest of the roster. They've got to add more depth on defense. Mike Matheson has been a big pickup for them. He's playing with confidence. But I think after that, it falls off. John Marino, phenomenal. And just, for
a
me,
little bit of an adjustment this season. He's
but
not having a great year.
The whole team in general
Peterson,
wasn't.
He's there.
I'm not a big Marcus Pettersson guy, and I just don't think there's enough depth back there right now. But when you're losing, everyone's pointing fingers. And right now on a condensed schedule, if you're not a team that's had a COVID break or one of those things, things steamroll. You don't have time to practice anymore. I think the Capitals went about the first 3 weeks without one real practice. So, it's classroom learning. Now you got to do it on Zoom. You can't really watch who's paying attention to anything. And it's just different times. So when you go on a bad streak, it's tough to get out of it. And I look at the Caps. One of the best things that happened to them when they had their games canceled with Philadelphia and Buffalo, they had a week to try to get on the same page. It kind of laid an egg their first game back, looked a little flat like we all did when we had breaks in the 2-a-day practices with our bad coaches. And you look at the next game back, you're completely different after that first game. You have that week off, then you have the first game. You usually are awful, it seems like, because you're thinking too much. And then you get the next game and you're doing everything right because you're playing a little bit pissed off as well. And, it really helped the Caps. And some of the other teams haven't had that benefit because the Caps had all their guys. They didn't have anyone with COVID. They were able to skate every day. A lot of these teams like Buffalo and New Jersey, they couldn't practice the entire time they were off. So their guys are out of shape, out of game shape, just out of shape in general, not feeling that great.
We'll get to the Buffalo in a second here, but you mentioned Pettersson and Marino. They're young guys on friendly contracts, so I don't think they're going to go anywhere anytime soon. Maybe Rust in Pittsburgh's one card that Hextall and Burke can play.
He's playing really good hockey right now.
Okay, so maybe his value is as high as it can get.
Yeah, but what are you going to get? So you have to make sure that you don't give away too much. And I think ultimately at some point, what are you going to pay Malkin? Because now with a flat cap, there's no way that Sidney Crosby should ever play anywhere else. in my opinion.
Unless he wants to.
Unless he wants to. And I doubt that. And I don't think Halifax is getting an NHL team anytime soon. So I see him being a Pittsburgh Penguin forever.
You know, my dark horse is that he goes and wins it with his Tim Hortons buddy, Nathan McKinnon.
In Colorado. They do have cap room, but that would drastically change the dynamics of that team, and talk about a top 3 centers.
Yeah.
With them and Kadri. So that would be something else. If that did happen, I think there'd be multiple back-to-back, maybe 3 cups in a row won with that group of players altogether.
All right. You mentioned time off for COVID related issues, Buffalo Sabres. Okay. I can only imagine the frustration for Buffalo Sabre fans, and the fact that you went out and you got Taylor Hall and on a short deal, but you paid $8 million for it. And between him, Skinner, and Eichel, I don't know, do they have 3 goals?
I think they got 4 or 5. I think Eichel's at 3, Taylor Hall's at 1. I'm not sure where Skinner, because I didn't even notice Skinner play last night.
I don't think he has a goal.
And I think he's got 1 goal. And but I look at them. So Skinner's probably one of the worst contracts.
$9 million.
Yeah,
$9 million.
One of the worst contracts in hockey right now, and they should have known better. It was way too much at the time. And there's probably a handful of guys you can go around the league and say those are bad contracts. You knew them the day they signed. Erik Karlsson, Duchesne in Nashville, Skinner in Buffalo. 3 of the worst contracts. There's no way those guys could ever live up to those, in my opinion, from what their past performance was. But when I look at Buffalo, I don't care who's on that team right now. They play, I don't like their system. I think they play soft. They play a perimeter game. And it's not the players. I'm looking at this. They are, after the games, there's hardly any hitting. There's hardly any, it's almost like they don't even have to wash their jerseys after the game, because there's not enough put into it. They certainly don't have to sew, and the elbow scars and all the things that our jerseys were covered in. There's no stitching. They're not sewing any of the jerseys. They're not playing with any grit whatsoever. The only gritty players they have are Rasmus Ristolainen, who's out, who sounds like he might be out a little longer because his COVID was worse than expected. Zemgus Girgensons, who's out with an injury. Those are like 2 gritty guys, and they don't play the game with any sandpaper whatsoever.
Ralph Kruger's their coach.
He is,
not,
and you know
not
what? You
North
can't
American,
play,
not North American style.
No, you can't play Euro hockey. It's, to me, European hockey players are good when they come here. You take their talent and get them to play into a North American National Hockey League style of game. But Euro hockey, you can't watch on television. The only reason the Olympics are good, because it's a condensed tournament. And you've got all the best NHL players most of the time playing in that, and they're going for broke. And you take players, and one of the things with Russia over the years, they didn't have enough of their NHL guys in those games, and they haven't been good for a while. But I look, in this league, you can't play Euro hockey. You can't curl away with your forwards every time you go to the blue line. You cannot pass the puck around for 2 whole minutes on a power play and not shoot the puck. And you look with the Sabres right now, their best players are going to be getting pissed off looking at their stats.
Wow.
They're at about a point a game.
Skinner's on the 4th line. He's playing a dozen
minutes. It doesn't
minutes.
matter. He's got no value right now in any role in that team until he changes and starts going to the middle of the ice. But as long as they're playing this style of play, I don't think they're going to get good mileage out of any of their players. And, Olofsson has an all-world shot. He scored a laser last night, but it's still, they're going to waste everything they have in that player right now by playing the hockey that they're playing. It's just not good enough. There's not enough compete level. There's no grit. There's no sandpaper, and there's no way you can have any success with a team like that. And I just think that everything they're doing is the wrong thing right now. And they've got a lot of talented players. They have 9 of the forwards are legit NHL players. When they have all their defensemen, I think they're not too bad of defensemen, but the system they're playing in right now just isn't right. They're wasting Rasmus Dahlin. Jake McCabe's been phenomenal for them, but sooner or later, these guys will all start losing their confidence, and it's going to go south in a hurry. And with all the different coaches, all the different GMs they've had, they've got to bring in the right guy the next time they do all this.
So much talk about Jack Eichel and speculation of how unhappy he's been and whether or not he welcomed the engagement between the Rangers and the Buffalo Sabres. And speaking about Jack Eichel's availability, how quickly does that get revisited?
Well, it all depends where his attitude is with everything. He's got what is he, $10 million a year? So it's a huge commitment to take him, but his heart's got to be in the game. And last night, he didn't look anything like the Jack Eichel did, at the start of the season, that first week or so when the Caps played them 4 times. He was a force. He was getting grade A scoring chances every single time he seemed like he was on the ice. He was backing defensemen off. I didn't see him play with pace last night. I didn't see him play with energy. It just didn't seem there. So I wouldn't be surprised. And I think the Buffalo media can be very toxic. Their print media guys and the radio, it can drive guys wild. It's a smaller bubble, and it's just got to be tough. The good thing for them right now is there's no fans in the building, but they do have a lot of good players. And that's the part that bothers me about all of this, is that it's getting wasted right now. And players are going to, maybe players are going to start wanting to get out of there in droves. It's not necessarily going to be better, if you can't guarantee where you're going. But just right now, it's just flat. Everything about it is flat. And I can see him not being he never looks happy to begin with. He doesn't even look happy when he scores a bunch of goals. So it'll be tough to tell. I think pretty much every team in the league would want the talent of Jack Eichel. But who knows what the attitude would be being in a different franchise.
Don't forget about the added pressure of being in a community like Buffalo and watching the success that the Bills just had in the NFL, and how that kind of adds pressure to Buffalo turning it around as well.
Well, you know what? To me, it doesn't really matter. With the football team, it's just you're in your own bubble. We didn't.
No. Well, I know that, but you just talked about how about the media.
No, I just mean it has not. To me, it has nothing to do with football. The media to me is toxic. Like I've had to shut some of the guys off there on my Twitter, like block them and mute them. and no, seriously, because it was giving my eyes cancer, and it was just it's this. And I have no investment in the Sabres at all. And you look at it, and it's like, oh my God, who'd want to play? It's like all you hear, and then the talk radio is kind of the same thing, and the trickle down, and it just gets to be that environment. They don't get a lot of sunshine. They got crappy weather, and now they're at the bottom of the standings. It just makes it tough. It's no fun playing on a bad team, Nick. No. And lucky I didn't have to play in too many bad ones over my time, and the times I did, I got saved and got somewhere else. But when you're in those teams that you go into every game, and it'll get to the point in Buffalo where, like, when is the season over? It'll be the game counter as to, oh my God, let's start my summer workouts and get ready for next year, and hopefully it's better, maybe somewhere else.
All right, a couple of conversations I want to have with you. I mean, time's just flying so fast here. Let's talk about McDavid, one of the youngest players in history to hit 500 points. I had a conversation the other day on talk radio here in Toronto, and I said that we're going to look back on it and say that Connor should have hit those 500 points a lot sooner. And if you look at the teams that he's had in those first few years, it's remarkable that he was able to hit 100+ points with so much, I don't know what the term is, lack of talent around you. And he's tied with Sidney. Even Sidney had Sergei Gonchar. People forget that Sergei Gonchar was one of the top point producers, in the National Hockey League. And who has Connor McDavid had?
He's got Ethan Bear. No, he's got a team that when I look at their roster right now, and they were left with a mess when they got rid of the last general manager, and stuffed right up against the salary cap, and a lot of guys, because guys buyouts, all the different things that were happening, and players that were traded away. I still can't believe they traded Taylor Hall. And I just thought, could you imagine Taylor Hall with McDavid and Draisaitl? Just put those 3 guys on the ice, because Taylor Hall would just go end to end every shift there. And I couldn't imagine the speed, those 3 guys pushing defensemen and, all 5 of the opposition back. But I look at what he's been able to do, but I look at their roster every night and I say 5, 6, 7 of these guys shouldn't be on the team together at the same time. And they have players that I look, why is that guy still on their roster? What has he done? Does he play with a heartbeat? No. Does he understand his role? No. I look at their defensemen, it hasn't been enough. And, one of the things about playing in Canada, I think everyone gets elevated their status a little too much from, there's such, huge media involvement in every market, and the players are blown up and out of control. You have one good game, but I look at players in Edmonton, they've got a lot of roster that to me shouldn't be on an NHL team all playing in the same game. Maybe be on the taxi squad, a bunch of them right now, but not on the roster day in and day out. But then again, McDavid doesn't play with most of those players. He plays with, he's got a group of decent players that he plays with, that he skates with, and they put up big numbers. So that team won't have depth. They won't have success until they have true depth throughout their lineup. And everyone's got to understand the role. But to me, they look too small at times. They look slow at times, and they've got the fastest player in the league. And it's scary that when you look at that, and then, what type of team are they? I thought they would have been way more defensive playing under Tippett as far as all the other players are concerned. But I still see a lot of mistakes every night, and just fundamental defensive mistakes and breakdowns. And sooner or later, it's just like, once again, what you see in Buffalo, players just start to lose their confidence, and they don't have the belief that they can win every game. And even with the McDavid, so sooner than later, they've got to start enhancing that roster with more depth to take advantage of the phenomenal skill and McDavid and Draisaitl, because they're so good. And you look where they're at in the standings right now.
Just doesn't seem to be any answers anytime soon to change that look that you're talking about. Majority of these teams in a pandemic cap scenario, capped out. This is all you have. This is it.
Teams are really stuck, because you think of it, you can't really make trades. You're trying to get in the playoffs. You can't really make trades near the deadline, Canada, US, because of the quarantine rules. And it's just so different with what's going on. And all the quarantine rules, the COVID rules are hard to keep track of. And, so those are tough trades. And then down south here, you're going to go America. What are you going to do in Canada? You're going to trade between the Canadian teams trying to make the playoffs, unless two teams are so far out, off the equator as to who gets in. So it's a tough time right now. So you got to look within your system. You got to lock down your game. Maybe coaches have to look at themselves and drastically say, okay, we're going to play this defensive system now. Scrap everything we talked about for the first 20 games. We're going to have to go to this because we're not getting that. We're not successful there. And that's what you have to do right now, because you can't just buy your way out of trouble now.
I would think is whatever Ken Holland feels in terms of pressure to turn this thing around for Edmonton, Brad Treliving probably feels even more. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, you never know what you're getting out of the Flames game to game. And I'm not sure what type of team they are right now. It seems like players are struggling. And the depth doesn't seem like it's there. And you know what? Mangiapane's arguably their best player every night. He's not supposed to be their best player every night. I love the fact how hard he works, how hard he
Dylan Dubé.
skates.
I mean, they've got some good pieces there.
They got motors, but
and it just almost seems like you're almost in that transition period where you've given the last few years to Giordano, Monahan, Johnny Hockey, and now it's almost going to, in many ways, it might just be over for that group. And now it's like it's almost as if, okay, yes, you made a commitment to Markstrom and Tanev, and they haven't disappointed. Those guys haven't disappointed, but something still seems wrong with the mix or the chemistry, and there's going to be a breakup there somewhere between Monahan and Gaudreau. Giordano's getting up there in age, and he's certainly not the player that he was a few years ago, but they've had their chance.
Well, you look at Matthew Tkachuk's not putting up numbers right now. And I think he's at 5 goals in 16 games. The depth doesn't seem like it's. Are they playing the right system? Is this guy the right coach? You look at that. There's not a lot of experience with Jeff Ward being a head coach, a successful head coach anywhere. And so this is the guy they chose to go with. And, is that a problem there? Because you look at it, the defensemen aren't that bad when you look at them, but the players, they've got pieces if they want to make trades. But once again, can you go south of the border to make a trade? Without, look how long players had to stay off the ice when they go with the isolation and everything. But,
you assume it's 10 days, 2 weeks.
Yeah, but still, that's a lot can happen in 2 weeks. So, if you had a COVID break, it might be a great time to make a trade because everyone's off and, you're not going to lose too many games. But, Lindholm's been having a great year. I don't think Sean Monahan, he's a fraction. He's got points, but he doesn't have goals. Sean Monahan's normally getting to the slot and firing his wrist shot. Deadly accurate. He's not dialed in right now. Lindholm, I'm a big fan of how Lindholm plays the game. And I liked it when they had those three guys on the same line. Now they've got them separated. And I just thought that when those guys were the first line, they were a lot more effective team. And Tkachuk playing with Backlund was a lot better, but they don't have depth, in my opinion. And when you look at it every night, it seems like the Lucic line is the most productive line, like getting things done as far as positive on the ice, finishing their hits, driving plays inside the offensive zone. And so something's not right there right now. Possibly it's the system that they're playing, but it just doesn't seem like they got enough grit and grime. And maybe the Sam Bennett having to talk about that garbage every day.
Sam Bennett's got the longest trade request in history, I think, at close to 3 years now.
Yeah, and you know what? He's not. What was he drafted 4th overall or whatever it is? But he's not a 4th overall player. So he was drafted there. Big deal. He's got to figure out how to be on a team. How to be successul. How to
Would you move him or keep him?
If he wants out, I wouldn't want a player that doesn't want to be there. So I would. They probably want too much because he was a 4th round draft or 4th overall draft pick.
Correct.
I'm just trying to go by bad memory right now. But Brian Burke's in Calgary. Brian Burke was part of that. In Pittsburgh, maybe that's a team that uses a guy like he is a gritty player. I don't think he's a grade A skater. I think he's an average skater. He's got a lot of compete in him. But to me, he's not a top 6 guy. I may be wrong in time, but to me, he's not. Would you want him on a team? Yeah, but he's got to understand whether you have him at left wing or center, he's got to find a way to make things happen and be legitimate every night. Because really, when you watch them play, he's been passed by Mangiapane, Dubé with their motors that they have, and they make things happen. But at the same time, if they're asking for too much, I don't think too much is ever going to happen.
Okay, you're going to watch the outdoor game?
Absolutely. Can't wait.
Our last
this one.
Our last outdoor game, I think, was Heinz Arena. Mario Lemieux put together an alumni game between us Capitals and his Penguins. And it was great. It was awesome. And then they kicked us off the ice because we ran out of time. And it was tied.
We had 5. It was 5-5. And I don't think they didn't want to take the chance of losing with all those Hall of Famers they had in their lineup. And I was actually told by George McPhee to make sure we don't lose that game. And, that's how.
I think you had 2 goals.
I did. I scored. Well, I also had some blackmail. I had a picture of Mario Lemieux that I used as blackmail. I scored the first goal. He said, "Okay, are we all good? Are you going to delete that picture?" So I said, "No, it was a crappy goal." So we had a lot of fun. That was but although it was early and we all stayed up kind of late the night before, but that was an absolute blast. And the NHL messed up on that one because with Mario playing in that game, they could have sold out that alumni game. And I had enough fun anyways with, the 15, 20,000 people they had there. But that was an absolute blast getting to see all the old guys and then both teams hanging out in the same hotel.
Yeah.
Slinging beers. That was an absolute blast. And fortunately for a lot of players who are alumni, they got to play in, there was other games because Mario really is the guy that forced that game. And I started to hear about it about a month before, maybe a little longer, that Mario skating and he wants to play. They had called and said he wants to play a game. And we're like all of a sudden scrambling to get guys in there. It was, thank God, that's a career highlight. That was a lot of fun.
I want to know about the picture you blackmailed
I'll show you my
Mario
phone.
with-
I can't share it. It's awesome.
Oh, everybody's watching right now going, give us a hint. Was the
I
picture
can't.
taken? Was the picture taken between, like, say, midnight and 7 a.m.?
No, it was taken before the game.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Wasn't sure where you were going with that one, Alan.
No, it was like a practical joke. So
here's my prediction. Here's my prediction that it's going to look so spectacular in Lake Tahoe on the weekend that they can't go back to football stadiums. It's just too boring.
Well, you know what? I disagree with that, but they make a lot of money at those football stadiums, Nick. You know, the revenue's $3 to $5 million. No,
for sure.
Money matters.
I know.
Right?
I'm kind of being facetious here, but it will be spectacular.
It's going to be the best scenics, and I just wish there was
Lake
more
Tahoe,
snow
of
in Lake
course.
Tahoe right now. And this is when you think of outdoor hockey. This is truly what it is. When you go back to that movie, Mystery Alaska, as cheesy as it was kind of awesome. And I was kind of a little bit envious and jealous because I saw some old NHL guys that were, you know, characters in that. And I thought, man, if I was back home, I might have had a chance to go in that. And it looks so much fun. And then, you know, the real thing, this will be the closest to a real outdoor game. Like we all skated outside growing up, and a lot of people talk about it, but I don't know if the new guys did it as much as us older guys, where we're outside playing every single day. And my community where I live, the two different places I grew up in Edmonton, you know, we were over there nonstop. I was supposed to be at church. I'd be at the skating rink, and, you know, it was just a blast. And sometimes my dad would come out 3, 4 in the morning. We'd still be outside skating. And I look at this game in Lake Tahoe will be the best scenics. And I think for the players, it'll be great. They don't have to worry about a whole lot, just other than playing a hockey game. Hopefully the wind isn't too bad. And I just, every picture I've seen has been a perfect picture so far.
Yeah. And the only thing I worry about, Alan, is like we've gone there enough. We've played enough of these outdoor alumni games to understand that it could be awfully bright, and there are no stands. There will be no shadows. I just hope that the players are going to be able to be okay. And if the sun is out coming off the water or the mountains, I mean,
you know what? Too bad.
Challenging.
Too bad Martin Brodeur complained about Ovi shaded, you know, tinted visor, because there's your solution right there. Everyone wears a visor now. There's only a handful of guys that don't. You just wear tinted visor. Maybe you wear a pair of shades under there. I don't know how safe that would be, but the guys will get through it. You can squint and skate. We did it as kids growing up. So just play the game, have fun, and try to get your 2 points and remember it forever.
No family, unfortunately, involved. They built a couple of huts that will.
It's the way it should. Is really the way it should be. And I hope they're cold while they're doing this.
They're actually the players will be getting dressed at the hotel for the game. They'll be bussed in and then jump right on the ice. The only thing the temporary huts will do would
between
periods, and if you got to take a leak, they don't even have any showers in there.
You know what? Doesn't matter. We didn't have showers at our outdoor rink, so it makes it's just awesome. They will have cold beer when they get off the ice, and the guys will have a blast. You know, all those little things that go with it. This is a once-in-a-lifetime type of thing right now, and the teams that are there, they're lucky and fortunate to be there. And I know if, you know, the Caps were playing in it, I'd want to be there working and just to see it in person. But I'm looking really forward to this one. I go back to that first game Buffalo and Pittsburgh had years ago. With the snow falling and Pittsburgh's jerseys and Buffalo's jerseys. And that thing was spectacular. And I hope this one pulls off just as well.
Crosby with the shootout winner as the snow was coming down. And I can see it like it was yesterday, the amount of snow and the buildup. And I think Crosby still found a way to go 5-hole on Ryan Miller. But that was the one that got all these outdoor games off and running, and it's still spectacular when you consider how many we've had, and never one completely shut down and canceled.
No, you know what?
Because of weather. What a run!
Yeah, our game in Pittsburgh. You remember when the Caps and the Penguins
should have been called.
Well, actually, I was on a call just before I got in here today with Bruce Boudreau, and we were talking about it. And, you know, they didn't have a morning skate. They didn't have anything. And they were kind of on hold all day. And there was about 100,000 gallons of rainwater drained off of that rink. throughout the game day. And then he said the player said the ice was phenomenal. So it's, and I thought the visuals of being at Heinz Field at night with all the yellow posts and everything, I thought the visuals were great by being a night game. So it kind of worked out even better. And it was just kind of that whole week was spectacular to be there. And I look at all the teams involved. When Washington had theirs here in the baseball stadium at Nats Park against Chicago, was another insane event. Middle of the day, perfect. The weather was crispy. It was cold outside, just the right amount of cold. And it couldn't have been any better. The Caps win. I think that one in overtime, but it was a phenomenal game. And I look for everyone that gets to experience these. And it's not about the visuals for everyone else. And the people that want to criticize these, it's for the teams involved and the celebration of hockey in their cities. Now, this one is completely different. This is all about the visuals and the fan experience and everyone getting to watch something that's totally unique.
Well, the big winners, of course, ultimately, other than the fans, NBC, Sportsnet up here in Canada. They haven't had a lot to cheer about, like every other hockey fan that's gone through this pandemic. But this will be one I think we'll all be able to remember quite easily. And that is, of course, on the 18th hole. Same golf course that we see those celebrity Lake Tahoe matches. It's going to be incredible. Hey, thanks for doing this. Hey, Jordan, you still there? Did we get
Yes,
Alan
sir.
100 likes?
Not quite. We're closing in on it, though.
We're closing in.
Yeah.
Come on, we need to get to 100 likes so we can rub it a little bit in Doug McLean's face. Alan, busy weekend coming up. You got the Caps tonight. So appreciate your time here on the Real Kyper at Noon show. Thanks, pal.
Thanks a lot. I'll talk to you soon, Nicky.
All right, that's Alan May from NBC Sports Washington. Does a terrific job, friend of the show. Thanks to all of you. It's been a great week, fun week. We had some pretty good topics to dive into all week. Thanks for your engagement. If you're just a first-time watcher and you haven't subscribed, please do so. Leave some comments. Let us know what you think of the show. And we'll be back Monday with a fresh Doug McLean. I'm Nick Kypreos for Real Kyper at Noon. Enjoy the weekend, everybody.